Gumbo. Hello, viewers. My name is Zach Hardy, and this is my Wednesday Night Intensity, July 1st, 2015. I'm sorry. Let me repeat that. Hello, Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zach Hardy, and this is my review of the July 1st, 2015 episode of Wednesday Night Intensity. Few announcements before we start. I wanted to say that there will be an update video on the Unitards YouTube channel very soon. And the reason for that is because there have been some changes to Unitards. Some big, some small, some other announcements towards future channels and towards anything that really has to do with Unitards. I will be doing some other videos. I think also just to refrain from just saying other videos. There will be a video probably today of my Outcast 2015 special preview video. The reason why I am not doing a pre-show video like I did for Hardcore Haven is because with the Intensity episode airing, I can't do a review or a pre-show on Outcast because I will be a part of the show the same day. And unlike pay-per-views, they don't film from like 12 o'clock p.m. to 2 p.m. 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like Sunday pay-per-views usually do. This is going to be treated just like a USW Wednesday Night Intensity episode, except it's going to be treated like a special as well. So it's going to be filmed on the same day, but from 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means I will end up getting home at about 7:30. I'll have to write a script about through whatever to go through the pre-show, and then have to do that going into 8 o'clock to 8:30 to 9 o'clock. And it's going to be very difficult to do that. But just wanted to let you know that there will be a preview video for Outcast 2015 instead of a pre-show for Outcast 2015 next week. I'm trying to get other videos done. I'm trying to get a Q&A done. That's something that I really want to do. I'm also trying to get other videos, and more announcements will come from that announcement video. Another thing is I don't want people to expect me to do a Wednesday Night Intensity review every single time Intensity comes up. If the show is very good, I will do a review on it. And of course, I'm going to do a review on this because it was very good. Stay away. I wanted to say before anything else, I wanted to say I'm probably going to end up having to spray my cats with water for a few times during this review. But like shows like this that were either very, very good or very, very bad, or let's say good in general or bad in general, I will review it. If it's the only time I will really not review a show is if it's just nothing really, which usually Wednesday Night Intensity is not really that. But it's either that or I just either don't feel like doing a review for it, or I can't do a review for it because I'm busy or something like that. But I'm going to try to do every USW pay-per-view preview video or pre-show video and review video. And yeah, another announcement that I wanted to make was the playlist that I usually do. I just started a new Hardiac Wrestling podcast playlist on YouTube. You can check that out. It has all 3 videos on it, or all 3 podcasts on it. There are also other playlists like the WWE Raw reviews, USW Intensity reviews, USW pay-per-view and predictions playlists, the USW pay-per-view review playlist. Also, thanks for preview and prediction videos for WWE pay-per-views and review videos for WWE pay-per-views. I'm going to try to update those more frequently than I do, and I don't update them frequently. It's more of a every so often, update, like, or update. there are things like I'll update it every 2 months, 3 months. So I'm gonna try to do that maybe every few weeks, maybe every week, or maybe every 2 weeks. But I can't do it every single week, every single so often, because I put out a lot of content and it's just too much to keep up. And I'm also planning everything. Not to mention I'm wrestling and I'm doing other things, so it's very hard to do everything and mix it all up. So playlists should be updated more often. I'll probably update it after this review, but or I'll update all playlists for this review or after this review ends. Another thing, you see this down here. That's my Twitter page. That's my Twitter handle. Follow at Zachary Sarah on Twitter. And you will get information and updates on anything related to my YouTube channel, anything related to Unitards or any subsidiaries, anything related to USW, anything related to the WWE. You'll get my live reactions at some points for USW shows or WWE shows or pay-per-views. You'll get my thoughts on everything, and you'll also get just random tweets as well as some bands that I say, oh, I'm listening to this. This is a pretty good song. Check this out, or maybe I'll do something like, let's say, with Skull Candy headphones or earbuds. I did a tweet, or I put out a tweet on that, saying that they were very reliable to me or for me, and I like them, so check them out for yourself. So I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm not sponsored by anything. But it's nice to just get the word out that something is awesome, something is very worth it, and for you to check it out. So whether I'm sponsored by it or not, I'll still call it out if it's good or if it's bad. But anyway, moving on. One more thing before everything. This is what you really should want to hear this. If you have any questions, and I know I put this up a lot, but if you have any questions that you want me to answer for the next episode of the Hardy Yak Wrestling Podcast, at this point in time, it'll be, of course, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube. That's when it's live streamed. But if you have any questions for me to answer on the Hardy Yak Wrestling Podcast, I encourage you to send them to unitards@gmail.com. You see the name down there. Add one more Z to this name right here. UNITARDZZ@gmail.com. And make sure all letters are lowercase. But if you have any wrestling-related questions, not any questions about me, like that, send them to there. I'm only answering questions from my email. So if you have any questions wrestling related for me to answer on the Hardy Yak Wrestling Podcast, I will answer them on the Hardy Yak Wrestling Podcast, as well as my own question that I have for myself. And it can be USW related, it can be WWE related, it can be TNA related, it can be Ring of Honor, NJPW, of course, New Japan Wrestling, Dragon Gate, Lucha Underground. I don't watch all that much wrestling, but I do know about it. NEW, NXT, anything like that. I'll answer questions about it. Excuse me. I'll answer questions about the wrestlers themselves, anything. So there you have it. So now let's get into the review. I know you've been dying for me to get to the review, and it's been a long day. It's been a long point of me, with all these plugs. So I'll get into the review. This is where I go to my list that I wrote down. So Wednesday Night Intensity. This was a very good show. The July 1st, 2015 edition of USW Wednesday Night Intensity, Intensity number 129, was a very good show. It was also the go-home show to the Outcast 2015 special. The Outcast 2015 special, quiet please. The Outcast 2015 special was or is a special event hosting next Wednesday. It will replace Wednesday Night Intensity, and as I read and as I looked up, Wednesday Night Intensity should not be counted as another episode next week because it doesn't have anything to do with Intensity. It's just replacing Intensity for the night. So therefore, episode number 129 of Intensity was on July 1st, 2015. Next week, what should have been number 130 for Wednesday Night Intensity on July 8th, 2015, will be replaced by Outcast. So Wednesday Night Intensity number 129 on July 1st, 2015, will then be followed by Wednesday Night Intensity number 130 on July 15th, 2015. So quick thoughts on the Wednesday night intensity from the last night. It was great. I enjoyed it heavily watching it back. I didn't put out a review last night, and I apologize. I was very busy with shit. But it was very good. I loved the fact that it built up to the Outcast 2015 special so well. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this was one of the best, if not the best, go home shows to a special event or a pay-per-view in 2015. Quite possibly, maybe even 2014. And I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead as far as I will go as far as saying that these past intensities, June 24th and July 1st, 2015, were the best intensities I've seen in 2015. Now, you can argue that I wanted to say that they were the best USW's ever had. Of course, 2013 wasn't the best year for intensity. It was overshadowed quite often. I mean, there was always a weekly show. It was overshadowed quite often by the constant review events or special events and the pay-per-view events that came out. Of course, 2013, the only pay-per-view events. There were so many special events, but pay-per-view events were Called Greatness 8, Bulletproof 6, Capital Carnage 2013, Ultimate Consequence 2013, Final Chapter 2013, and No Remorse 2013. Of course, I think of Final Chapter and No Remorse as one of the top 6 pay-per-views. I mean, I've always thought of it as No Remorse was number 6, Final Chapter was number 5, Ultimate Consequence was number 4, Capital Carnage was number 3, Bulletproof was number 2, and Call of Greatness was number 1. That's always been my idea of it. They aren't really counted as the top 6 pay-per-views, as usually counted as Ultimate Consequence, Capital Carnage, Bulletproof, and Call of Greatness. But those 6 pay-per-views were the pay-per-views from 2013, which made every other special event look just like a special event to build up fans, and that's kind of what overshadowed intensity. And then 2014 had quite a few good intensities. There were a lot where it was kind of shitty, but there were a metric shit ton, which is not on the metric scale or the anything involving the metric system. But I like to say a lot when there's a lot of something. I like to say a metric shit ton of whatever it may be. So there were a metric shit ton of great intensities from last year. Of course, one of the biggest ones that stands out to me. Go ahead and review it. It's like a lesson in Wednesday night intensity history. The March 12th, 2014 edition of Wednesday Night Intensity was amazing. They built that up so well, and it revolved in one of the only times I can really, or one of the very few times I can remember the world title or the USW title being defended or won on intensity. And that was for the world title with Majigeta beating Kid in a steel death match. That was one of the best matches I've seen in USW history. But anyway, these were probably 2 of the best intensities of all time, and I think easily these were the 2 best consecutive intensities. The first time were the best double amazing intensities of all time. The June 24th and July and the June 24th and July 1st edition of Intensity. Those were both amazing. But now let's get into Wednesday Night Intensity from July 1st, 2015. First off, the first match to start off was me, Zach Hart. Well, I wasn't in the match, but myself, Zach Hardy, chooses the opponent for Majigeta, or I chose the opponent for Majigeta. The whole thing was Majigeta came out first, and then I came out afterwards, and I said, hey, by the way, Kyle Reese has given me the choice to pick your opponent for tonight. And Majigeta was confused as to who his opponent was before this, and now he knows, because he chose my opponent, so that's why I don't know. And I chose Double XL. The match went on. Double XL beat Majigeta, and the ending was when Double XL hit the above ground for the pinfall win. Then I hit the Hardy X Jaw on Majigeta when he got up. I told Majigeta that they got on the microphone and told Machigeta that my request for my match at the Outcast 2015 special be a no disqualifications match, and that was granted. So next week on the Outcast 2015 special, Zach Hardy will face Machigeta in a no disqualifications match. That's great. I know last week I said something about how I said that in my review I said that I said or that I said the words, if anybody does not like me or does not respect me, show yourself to me by Outcast 2015. I meant to say Ultimate Consequence 2015 because that's what I said on Intensity, but I said Outcast 2015 because we were just talking about Outcast 2015. But anyway, I enjoyed the fact that I got to kick Machigeta in the face. Of course, we're best friends. Well, not best friends. We're friends. I don't like saying best friends because I don't like having best friends. I had a best friend once, and that he just fucked off. Haven't seen him for a while. But that's why I don't like having best friends. I mean, I'll have allies. I'll have friends. I mean, I like allies more than friends, but I mean, I will have friends. I will voluntarily say I have friends if I have friends. And in this case, Machigeta is an actual friend of mine in real life. I will be right back. Well, slow the microphone. Shit fell down. But Machigeta is a very good friend of mine. In the workplace and also in real life. When I'm at home, I can call him and talk to him about Intensity, talk to him about script, and I've been doing that pretty often. And yeah, it's just fun to have a wrestling feud with your friend. On a show and just have it be a storyline. It's great. It's a great feeling. And of course, then we jump into Double XL. I mean, he beat Machigeta here, but what does this do for Double XL in the future? I don't see him going anywhere in my thoughts. He's pretty much like one of those performers that is just showing up and kicks ass and then gets a feud, somewhere in between. He'll get a short feud and then he'll go back to just facing other people randomly. That was kind of like what had happened with me in 2014. With me after facing Morbid, I faced Western Light and I faced Yo-Yo Joe and I think I faced Cannon and then I faced like Alex Martin. But it was kind of like a kind of just random feud or random matches, and that's what Double XL is doing right now. And I mean, of course, I've said before that I don't think this run with Double XL in USW is going well. He should just kind of leave. I understand that he's contracted with USW, so he has to be there. But I mean, if Dustin Ray, I fucked it up both times. If Derek Carter can ask for an early release, then I'm pretty sure Double XL can do the same thing. I think anybody can do the same thing. They don't have to wait for their contract to end as long as they aren't doing anything currently. If they're just off air or they're not doing anything productive, then it's understandable why they would want to leave and they can leave. But, for people like myself or Machigeta, we're in constant rivalries and everything. So it's going to be harder for us to get an early release if we wanted it. So that's obviously different with Double XL because he's not doing anything productive. So I would just, if I were him, I would leave now before his reputation with USW, not reputation, but before his legacy with USW is over and just forgotten. Because I mean, in his first run, he became the USW champion. He beat me multiple times, which hasn't been done so often as with everybody else because I'm the top guy, so I'm billed as one of those hard to beat guys. But I mean, with Double XL, he beat me multiple times, won the USW championship, and left with the USW championship. I mean, he left, but he was stripped of the USW championship because of the fact that he left. So he said his goodbyes and left, and the USW title got vacant. And I believe it was myself who won the title after it was vacated, and I beat Cannon, and that's the feud with Cannon happened in 2013. But now his second run, he comes back and teams with Machigeta to beat the Masked Assailants at Call the Greatness 10. Loses multiple times trying to win the Extreme Championship from TJ, of all people. Gets out of that feud, beats Machida once, and now is doing nothing again. So, I don't know. I mean, I would just, if I were Double XL, I would leave right now because I don't want, if I were in his shoes, I wouldn't want my whatever I've done in USW to be tainted by the fact that I was just forgotten about or I wasn't doing anything productive for the last times I was running. So, with him, he can just leave now, and that'd be the better option. Anyway, um, afterwards we get a promo with Ash complaining to Kyle Reese that Western Light helped James pick up the win last week, which was not fair. So Kyle Reese tells Ash that James will face Seth tonight in the main event, and if Western Light got involved, he would be stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship. But if Ash got involved, he would be stripped of the International Championship. Because the whole storyline was Kyle Reese was saying that Ash wanted Seth to be beaten, but he wanted to make sure that he, caused Seth to lose. So he said, all right, well, if Western Light gets involved, he loses the World Heavyweight title. He gets stripped of it. But if you get involved, you get stripped of the international title. And Ash was, of course, not happy. Excuse me, not happy. But Seth ends up getting a match against, or James gets a match against Seth tonight, and Ash and Western Light are banned from getting involved, or they get stripped of their titles. It's a good storyline, and I enjoy the fact so much that they are now calling the USW World Heavyweight Championship the World Heavyweight Championship. There are so many promotions that call their title the World Heavyweight Championship. And USW is now one of them, at least to what I'm hoping. And now that the WWE doesn't have the World Heavyweight Championship, it's not like, oh, well, we're copying a title name off of them. So now it's the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So now instead of having to be the USW World Heavyweight Championship, it's the World Heavyweight Championship and the USW Championship. That's great. It was also a mouthful having to say the USW World Heavyweight Championship all the time. So now you can just say the World Heavyweight Championship, and it's much better. But anyway, second match, Anarchy beats the Blue Belt Champion Prophecy via countout. This is great because Anarchy beats Prophecy again, the Blue Belt champion. So now afterwards, Kyle Reese appears on the Motiontron and announces that Prophecy will defend the Blue Belt championship against Anarchy next week on the Outcast 2015 special. I was right last week. Anarchy was going to face Prophecy for the Blue Belt championship. I'm glad because this is a great thing. Anarchy now faces Prophecy for the Blue Belt Championship. He gets a shot at the Blue Belt Championship, which is just phenomenal. It's amazing, and I'm glad because Anarchy was doing nothing, when he was out of the Blue Belt Championship picture. So now I think being back in the Blue Belt Championship picture and facing Prophecy, and especially facing Prophecy, Anarchy versus Prophecy. Prophecy is absolutely over, and I'm not sure if Anarchy is going to be booed or cheered when he faces Prophecy. I would hope it'd be the latter, cheered. But I think Anarchy versus Prophecy will be a great feud, and whether if Anarchy wins the Blue Belt Championship and he goes forward as the Blue Belt champion, and moves away from Prophecy as the Blue Belt champion, I think he can do much better things than what he's doing now. He'll get much more of a chance, and he'll be treated much more like a champion, like he was in his previous few reigns. And if he doesn't win the Blue Belt Championship, or he doesn't move on to as the USW Blue Belt champion, I think he'll be able to have some more momentum and be able to be treated more seriously as a dominant performer, and be able to do those singles feuds going forward. And this is kind of like a reboot for Anarchy, and I think this is a great idea. So I think that could also be what propels him to the World Heavyweight Championship picture, or the USW Championship picture, anything. I think Anarchy is going to be doing something very good in this feud. So we get Anarchy and Prophecy at Outcast 2015, and we followed that up, or for the Blue Belt Championship, and we followed that up with another promo with Gringo and Fernandez telling the world that since they defeated the current reigning USW Tag Team Champions Ezra Kills and Benny Franklin, they should be granted a USW Tag Team Championship match at Ultimate Consequence 2015. And of course, that would be followed later on with another promo later on in the night. So after that, we get, and I'll talk a bit more about this whole promo when we get that portion of the show. But we get to match number 3, and it's Morbid beating Crimson Red via disqualification. The ending, of course, was something very crazy because Washington would walk down with a bucket and it had fireworks and he had a lighter and he would start shooting fireworks at Morbid. Now, they were fireworks that would just pop right after going off. So, it would shoot into the ring and then either go near Morbid and pop, because if it didn't, then that would be a safety hazard to the fans, because the fans could end up getting hit with fireworks, or anything like that. So they just went like ring, and that caused a disqualification since Morbid was attacked with fireworks, of course. Morbid would be the winner via disqualification. Then Washington gets into the ring, lays down sparklers next to Morbid after Morbid got shot a few times with the fireworks, and he lights the sparklers, and the sparklers fly and shoot firework or pyro at Morbid. Where Washington gets on the microphone, tells Morbid that he challenges him to a match, but not at Outcast 2015, at Ultimate Consequence 2015, and it will be the final chapter in their feud. So Morbid then grabs Washington by the face, pile drives him in mat, yells into the microphone, "I accept." So what we end up getting is Morbid versus Washington at Ultimate Consequence 2015, not Outcast 2015. I'm glad for 2 reasons. The first one is, with all the build-up they've been doing towards Outcast 2015, I wanted to see them, once Outcast 2015 was, or once last week's episode of Wednesday Night Intensity was on, I wanted to see them have at least 1 or 2 matches be scheduled for Ultimate Consequence and not Outcast 2015. The reason being is because I think it'd be just a hassle to build everything up for Outcast instead of building up anything for Ultimate Consequence, and therefore having a limited time to build up something to a bigger pay-per-view or bigger special event than Outcast, even though Ultimate Consequence is a pay-per-view. So I like the fact that they did that, and they did 2. Not 1, but 2 matches for Ultimate Consequence. One has been already determined. The other one will have the other one will be determined on who wins the tag team match at Ultimate Consequence or at Outcast 2015. There's a little bit of a preview for what happens. And the other reason why I like it is because it showed that Morbid could be taken down by Washington. And I think this was such a good idea that they made sure that Morbid and Washington would be able to have a steady match. It would be a good match, and it would be something that is very looked forward to. I think Washington and Morbid have had a good feud, and a great feud, and I think it's been great for Washington's character development, as well as keeping Morbid in the loop, and instead of just having him here for a pay-per-view and then another pay-per-view and another pay-per-view and done. So I think this is a great idea, and I think since this is the final chapter in the feud, it's just a good idea to end the feud here. And yeah. But the third reason why I'm happy with this, and I know I listed 2, but I should have listed 3, is because this will be the final match in Morbid and Washington's fight or storyline. And I like that. And a lot of people would disagree. And I know the reason why. The reason why is because it's such a good charismatic feud, and they have such great chemistry together, and they want to see Washington keep breaking down. But in all honesty, what else can they do? I mean, it's also a question on when would that feud be able to stop? If that were the case and they were just continuing to go on and on and on and on, then how would you end the feud? There'd be no easy way. So with Washington saying, this is the final match, and I'm saying this is the final match because I don't want any more chances after this. If I can't beat you, I'm done. If I, you know what, I'm able to beat you. I only need one chance to beat you, and I will beat you. And that's very interesting. Washington going crazy, but also staying sane enough to be logical and reasonable and confident. And I think that's amazing. Instead of him just breaking down mentally until the point where there's no return for him. I think this is great character development, and it will show Washington, instead of being a technical wrestler or high flying wrestler or anything near a powerhouse or something like that, instead of him being just a technical wrestler, he can now have a gimmick to build off of and say, you know what, I'm going crazy. That's my character. So instead of everybody else being a wrestler, he's a character as well. And of course, I've said multiple times that USW doesn't usually depend on characters. They depend on matches and putting on matches well as heels and faces, because that's also one of the best parts and one of the key parts of anything wrestling related. I think this is amazing, and I think it's great character development. I think it's a great idea to give Washington a character, and make it so that way he builds off of that and becomes a bigger face. And of course, right now it looks like he's a heel, but I think he'll be able to build up, and then he'll be more harder to take down guy, a more of a threat in the roster. Anyway, afterwards we get a preview for next week's special Outcast 2015 event. Just went through the information and some of the matches that were confirmed. Then we get into the fourth match, and this was very this was a very questionable promo or anything, and it was a very gruesome ending. And if you watch Intensity and you watch Yo-Yo Joe versus Lane and what happens after, and possibly even if you're listening to this, cover your ears until I give you the thumbs up, or turn off your volume or everything if you have a weak stomach or anything like that, because this was gruesome. This was very disgusting to watch. And I remember being in the car and getting a call from Majigeta, because I had carpooled with Anarchy and Prophecy. I think Anarchy, Prophecy, and I are going to be like, carpool. I guess carpool buddies or something like that when we carpool to the events. But I remember getting a call from Majigeta, and he said, "Hey, Joe broke his nose." I was like, "How the hell did that happen?" And then he calls me. Or after when he called me, he told me that Yo-Yo Joe had broke his nose. I was like, how the hell did that happen? And Majigeta goes, Canon. And I said, all right, I understand Canon and Joe are in a feud. And if that's the case, then that means Canon accidentally hurt Joe. And he said, yes, it was accidental. And just imagine steel chain to face. And I said, so it was either Joe hit himself in the face with the chain, or Prophecy hit Joe in the face with the chain by accident. Nope. And he told me that what happened was Joe had beat Lane immediately with the string effect. Cannon then came down and started brawling with Joe, who had a chain, and he started hitting Cannon with the chain. And it wasn't phasing Cannon as much as it did last week. But then Cannon went to hit the cannonball backflip. Of course, the starting point is his backflip with a kick to the jaw. And then he goes up to the top rope and does a cannonball backflip, a backflip, or a shooting star press. And it's either with knees to the gut or with just a 450 splash. But he did the first part, which was the backflip kick to the jaw. However, Joe had only a few parts of the chain left on his wrist. So when he went up to kind of play, sell the Outcast, I'm losing my mind, sell the cannonball backflip, Cannon ended up accidentally kicking the chain, and the chain went up and whipped him into the face. Went like this, right across the face. So afterwards, Joe goes down, crouches over onto his side, and covers his face as you see blood going. Sorry, as you see blood pouring onto the mat, and his nose, you see his bone from here to here. So his bone over here goes over to here. So his entire nose goes to the side. He broke his nose, and parts of it clean off from the bone, or I'm sorry, clean off from its base. So afterwards, you saw Yo-Yo Joe pulling his nose back and forth, trying to find out what's going on, and Cannon goes to move him into the cannonball backflip because that's what the second part was, and Joe kind of hesitated, and after I called afterwards, I called Cannon, and we talked about what happened, and he said that he went to go pull over Joe, and he said, my nose," and all Cannon saw was a pool of blood on the ring, and he left him alone, ran out of the ring to the medical doctor, broke kayfabe, of course. So since it was bad and he was losing a lot of blood, that could have been very dangerous. Cannon immediately, because he's a friend of Yo-Yo Joe, and he and Joe, I mean, Cannon is a close friend of Joe and his family, and he, of course, didn't want anybody to be hurt, or he didn't want him to be, hurt permanently. So he ran out of the ring, went to get the doctor, the ringside doctor, threw him in the ring, stood around Joe, told him that the doctors were there, pay attention to what they say, okay? And walked out to the ring and walked to the back because, of course, you can't break kayfabe too much. Otherwise, they know something is going on. And in this case, many people thought of it as just a promo or a storyline. But even though it was real, they can't make it just look like, oh, something really bad happened. And of course, medical doctors came down. They started checking on Joe, put a towel over his face, and helped him walk. And at one point, he actually fell down because he couldn't see. Because his nose actually cracked the orbital bone of his eye. So it was kind of like blood was pouring down through his eyes, and so he couldn't see. So he kept wiping away the blood, and of course you're not supposed to do that because he ended up continuing to flick the bone away, his nose, the bone in his nose away, and so they had a towel over it, and they actually had to carry Joe out on a stretcher because he would not move. He was in so much pain, and it was just so hard for him to see and walk, and I felt awful. And I called Joe earlier this morning, and he didn't answer because, of course, he was in surgery last night, getting his nose fixed and everything. They're gonna have to do facial reconstruction on it because he cracked the orbital bone, so they had to do facial reconstruction on his nose and everything. So it's questionable on whether or not he's going to be making it to Outcast 2015. And if it should only keep him out for a few weeks with the surgery they're doing. He should be wearing a face mask. There should be no hits to the head. So we're just going to see what happens. And he has a week to recover, and we're going to decide. And of course, they're going to decide by the time, I believe, Sunday comes if he's going to be able to compete or not. And that's going to be the word. And we may or may not get another match or get 9 matches on the card next week. It may be 8. But anyway, it was bloody and it was disgusting, and blood was pouring. When he got his head up, the side of his head was covered in blood because he was laying in the blood, and it was his blood was coming down the side of his body because it was coming down the side of his head, so it was going down his arm and down his chest, and it was just bad. So I'm gonna get off of that topic now. I'm sorry if you had to listen to that, but anyway, thumbs up. Thumb is up. Thumb is up. You can listen now. I'm getting off of that. 5th match was Indigo Reaction beating Greyhound and Lane. Greyhound and Lane are pretty much like the 2 jobbers in USW. They've been given given so many chances to be something special and to be given a character, and it's just never worked. So I think USW has just lost faith in them, which is never a good thing. But I think it's just worthless to get them over with or anything, get them over with the crowd or anything. So they become the two push pin dolls for anybody in USW, and this time they teamed them together in order to job out against Indigo Reaction. So um, Indigo Reaction, of course, ends up beating Greyhound and Lane, and it was by pinfall. I'm just trying to edit my notes because I took wrong notes. Anyway, afterwards we get the ending. Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin walk down to the ring, and before they get on the microphone, or when they get the microphone, Fernandez and Gringo walk down. So before they can all talk, Gringo and Fernandez come down, and everybody has a microphone at that point. And now they're starting to argue. They're starting to get Indigo Reaction and Ezra Hills are talking to Gringo and Fernandez about how they shouldn't be getting a title shot because it's their time. Gringo Fernandez talking to Indigo Reaction, talking about how they took their spot and how they didn't beat the tag team champions to earn a shot, but they did. Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin then go on both sides. Gringo and Fernandez beat us once doesn't mean means you're lucky, doesn't mean you've been skilled enough to beat us yet. And then they go turn down Indigo Reaction and they say, you should be talking. We can still beat you guys at Outcast. And then Indigo Reaction talks about how Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin can go down to the Indigo Reaction since it's their time to shine now. They can regroup from what happened earlier in the year and everything. And then Gringo and Fernandez talk about how Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin are going to lose to them when they get the shot. And it's just like an all-out clusterfuck. And Kyle Reese comes down. And he makes the announcement, and this is where the second Ultimate Consequence match comes into play. Kyle Reese walks down, tells everyone that whomever wins the Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin versus Indigo Reaction USW Tag Team Championship match next week on the Outcast 2015 special. My apologies. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that was Yo-Yo Joe calling me back. He said he just got out of surgery and it doesn't look good. He's actually watching my live stream, so hello, Joe. I hope you feel better. But he called me. He said it doesn't look good. I take it he's been watching my stream for a while. Well, he didn't just get out of surgery, but yeah, he shit, I fucked up. But I guess he's been watching it for a while. So he called me. Got his phone back and everything. But he called me, told me that it doesn't look good. The doctor said it doesn't look good, so we may end up not getting Yo-Yo Joe vs. Cannon at Outcast 2015. There's a breaking news update. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. Kyle Reese walks down, tells everyone that whomever wins the Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin versus Indigo Reaction USW Tag Team Championship match next week on the Outcast 2015 special will face Fernandez and Gringo for the USW Tag Team Championships at Ultimate Consequence 2015. So at Ultimate Consequence 2015, we've gotten the official announcement that Washington will face Morbid in their final match in the feud, and Gringo and Fernandez will face either Indigo Reaction or Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin for the USW Tag Team Championships at Ultimate Consequence 2015. So that's great. I love the fact that they played off of Gringo and Fernandez beating the Tag Team Champions, because they did it with Anarchy beating Prophecy on the June 24th, 2015 edition of Intensity. But I like the fact that they played off of it differently, whereas Anarchy beat Prophecy twice and earned a championship match. Gringo and Fernandez took the heel way out and won one match and took it as, well, I should get a championship shot. I beat him, so I'm lucky enough to get a championship shot. And Kyle Reese says, yeah, you are lucky enough. You actually did beat the tag team champions, and it was clean. So I guess you do deserve a championship shot. But since Indigo Reaction and Ezra Kills and Benny Franklin already have a match for Outcast 2015, you guys will get the winner for the tag team titles at Outcast 2015. So that's great. And I like the fact that, much again, like I said last week, we have in the tag team championship, or in the tag team division, Ezra Kills and Benny Franklin, Indigo Reaction, Gringo and Fernandez. I don't know if you still have Case. It looks like you still have Case. I'm going to say you still have Case. The Martin brothers and I believe Switchblade and Blade for the most part right now. So we've got great tag teams, of course. But I think the tag team division is being taken more seriously, or is being taken seriously. And I think sooner or later it'll be time to bring up somebody from Ferocity, or a tag team from Ferocity. I mean, the Northern Lights, Blaine and Samuel North are the Ferocity Tag Team Champions, so if they lose the title, maybe they can be brought up to the main, onto the Intensity roster. They don't call it the main roster, they call it the Intensity roster and the Ferocity roster. But they can be brought up to the Intensity roster and end up facing for the Tag Team Championships there. I think that'd be great. I think bringing tag teams, or bringing at least maybe a performer from Ferocity up to the Intensity roster and having them tag with another person from the Intensity roster in a tag team. I think those are great ideas, and I think it's a great way to build the tag team division now that you have Ferocity and everything. So that's great. I love this, and I mean, Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin are a great tag team, probably the best we've seen in a long time. So I mean, you have Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin, who have pretty much established themselves as a great tag team, as one of the best USW has ever seen. You also have the Martin brothers. You have Switchblade and Blade. You have had before Prophecy and Indigo Reaction. And you had Gringo Fernandez. And now Indigo Reaction is starting to see themselves, or starting to be a major tag team. So you got 6 tag teams in USW history that were amazing and that have worked out before. So, and not to mention Chris Ross and Philip Akron from 2013. So that's 7 great tag teams USW has had. And hell, maybe we can bring back Chris Ross and Philip Akron and have them team up and possibly face off for the USW Tag Team Championships. I don't know. That'd be amazing. I think those are great ideas, and I think that would be what leads to the tag team division being taken so much more seriously. Afterwards, we get a promo, and that's Alexander Rotten on the Motiontron, warning everyone that they will all hear from him at the end of the show. So, of course, spoiler alert, the end of the show doesn't end with a match and then a quick promo. It's going to end with a promo, and that doesn't happen all that often, but it happens every so often. I like it. I like when the shows end with promos, because it makes good storytelling. Anyway, we get into the 6th match. It is Dustin Raymond's Open Challenge. 2013 Key and Case holder Hernastley defeated Dustin Raymond. I found out why Rain and Hernastley are not teaming up right now. Rain is currently injured, so therefore he will not be on for a while. I think he's got a concussion or something. So Hernastley is going to be going singles for, now, or he'll be in the he'll be held back until Rain comes back. But 2013 Key and Case holder Hernastley beat Dustin Raymond. He hit the case on Raymond, and afterwards Simon Saint blasts Raymond in the face with a chair while he's on his knees looking forward. So this just says Simon Saint, can beat down Dustin Raymond. He can retain the Key and Case, or whatever. And Hernastley and Dustin Raymond had a great match, and now Hernastley has beaten a former Key and Case holder, a former USW champion, former Blue Belt champion, a very big star in USW, and I think this means a lot for Hernastley. And I think he can go far in the singles competition. And I mean, he still has a 2013 Key and Case, so I don't know what he's going to do with it. I don't know when they're going to have him cash it in, if ever. And now you have Simon Saint and Dustin Raymond fueling the fire to their feud. I don't really like the thought of Dustin Raymond's Open Challenge if he doesn't have anything on the line. But I think they can really, if they're not going to have Dustin Raymond put something on the line in an Open Challenge type storyline, I think they can do very well with Dustin Raymond and give him a feud from that. I think they can build up a feud from his Open Challenges. That's just something I think they could do. Anyway, we get the next match, but before the match starts, Seth walks down with a microphone, telling the crowd that he does not plan on leaving next week without the World Heavyweight Championship. The lights go red. He rips off the rubber covering that he has over his head. It's like a face mask or whatever, and in the neck chest area, revealing his red, his black, and white body paint. He turns into a demon character, gets a demonic gimmick. That's amazing. Seth has been teasing this whole gimmick, for a while, wearing face paint on occasions. But this is, I think, where he really went all in on the demon character. This is much like Finn Balor in NXT, and I understand that. But I think that USW can put in a different turn on this feud. The reason why is because can do a real turn on his character, and instead of Seth being a cocky heel who is, who runs on being a very good world champion, or at least holding the world championship, I think they can now play off as Seth is a demon. He is willing to. I'm sorry for continuing to hit the mic. It's my mistake. But I think that Seth can now go with this demonic character and be like, all right, so even though you are the world champion, and even though you beat me for the world championship, that does not mean that you can stop me. And that's amazing. That's something that you really want to do when it comes down to a Seth demonic character. You can't beat me. I have my own demons on my side. They're not haunting me. They're on my side. They're helping me. Not haunting me, helping me. And I think they can do something with Seth. And I know I'm talking gibberish, or not gibberish, but bullshit here. I know I'm just rambling on. But I think they can do some really good things with Seth. That's my opinion. But anyway, we get Seth versus James. Seth beats James. So that's fine with me. So Seth gets a win in his debut of the demon character. And James already beat Seth last week when he wasn't in his demon character, so Seth didn't lose anything. But now James loses. He doesn't have the momentum against Ash. But I think now, since Ash and James had their whole feud, James is now being pushed as a face. Ash is being pushed as a heel. So Ash is now a heel again. And James is now a face again, which is good. I think now, since, even though, I mean, this is one of the feuds that you don't see very often in USW, where even though, yes, it has gone on for, 2 or 3, 4 matches, now it's just getting interesting with the crowd. So now that the crowd is being pulled in, so now these are one of the few feuds where you can go over 3 or 4 matches, or even 2 matches. You can go into 5, 6, 7 matches, because the crowd will be interested by then. It'll be like, oh, well, I guess this feud is pretty interesting. But now all you really need to do is put on a good storyline, put on a good match at Outcast 2015, and really run with this storyline. Because I think this is where James and Ash get over with the crowd, and this feud goes crazy. The loser gets to be pushed ahead or whatever. Maybe they'll face Anarchy if he's not in the Blue Belt Championship picture after moving forward, or Prophecy or Anarchy and Prophecy, whoever gets pushed after moving forward with a Blue Belt title. I think, the loser of the James versus Ash feud, who doesn't walk away with the International Championship, and in this case, I think it's going to be James, will be able to be pushed pushed with the Anarchy or Prophecy or whoever, be pushed as a better, bigger, more destructive, more to beat, more performer, where you're considered, someone that you need to beat, somebody to beat, that you need to prove yourself against, or something like that. I think really building characters to be someone that, in order to be something, you kind of need to beat them to prove something. I think that's something that you really play off for when you have Ferocity performers from Ferocity move up to the Intensity roster. And then let's say James does not win the International Championship moving forward, he'll still be a dominant performer. And then people from Ferocity will face James because he's a man to beat. So anyway, Seth beats James. Seth hits the Oblivion on James and covers him for the pinfall win. Western Light then bashed Seth in the face with the World Heavyweight Championship belt. and afterwards, Ash ran down to attack James, and Western Light blasts Ash in the face with the World Heavyweight Championship belt as he helps up James to his feet. So Western Light and James are the faces in this situation, and Seth and Ash are the heels in this situation. I have a feeling, just like with Western Light getting involved in Alexander Rotten's business, and then I think them having some kind of Western Light versus or Western Light and Alexander Rotten storyline, just because Western Light was getting involved or telling Alexander Rotten what to do. I think now that Ash, not in the picture with Western Light, being hit by Western Light and being held back from something by Western Light, I think this is going to lead to Ash and Western Light having some kind of storyline as well. That's just my mind. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're just going to go on and see what happens. So anyway, I like the whole thing of Western Light helping James to his feet, showing that Western Light respects James and that James is James is one of those performers that deserves to be thought highly of. I'm sorry for the mic. I'm sorry for everything that I do with the mic. I apologize. And then, of course, you have Seth and Ash. Seth being, he's already pretty much made his mark in USW right now as former World Heavyweight Champion, as a threat, as a man to beat, with the world title multiple times, 3 times, I believe, and coming very close to breaking the record, or at least somewhat close to breaking the record. And Ash being hit by Western Light kind of makes it, whereas Ash is more of a interesting heel with crowd because, James got helped up by Western Light, who has already left his mark in USW. He's a Hall of Famer in WOW. He's left his mark in wrestling, period. And helping James up kind of shows that James deserves to be respected and that he is over. And now Ash getting hit by Western Light shows that Ash is a good enough heel to be smacked down by Western Light. So I think it does well for all three. Seth gets to be a demonic character. Western Light gets the last laugh for the World Heavyweight title. Ash gets hit by Western Light, and that's pretty much like an honor, I guess. And James gets helped up by Western Light and gets shown to the audience that he deserves respect. That's great. Next up, we go to the finale promo, and I'll read you exactly what I wrote. Excuse me. Alexander Rotten complains that he is the USW champion, so therefore he should be treated with more respect than anyone else on the roster. Lone Wolf comes down, telling Rotten the sad truth, that no one receives special attention, no matter who they are or what championship they hold. Alexander Rotten does not take too kindly to that and tries to hit Lone Wolf in the face with the USW Championship belt. However, Lone Wolf ducks and hits Alexander Rotten with an enziguri and locks in the howl, making Alexander Rotten crawl to the ropes and escape the ring. However, he does not tap out, and Lone Wolf holds the USW Championship belt above his head and throws it out of the ring as Alexander Rotten crawls to get the belt and crawls back up the ramp as Lone Wolf is celebrating in the ring with the crowd to end the show. So therefore, Alexander Rotten thinks, he holds the best championship in USW, so he's the top guy right now, and therefore he should be treated with more respect than what the fans give him and what the roster gives him. Lone Wolf comes down. Lone Wolf and Rotten are already facing next week for the USW Championship. Lone Wolf tells Rotten that you don't deserve respect. Even though you're maybe the top guy or you may hold the top championship, no one receives special attention, no matter who they are, or what title they hold. So Alexander Rotten, of course, doesn't like that. Tries to hit Lone Wolf in the face with the USW title. Lone Wolf ducks, hits him with an enziguri, and then locks in the howl. And of course, Rotten does not tap out, which shows that Alexander Rotten would not, or has the ability to withstand the howl, withstand that lock. What time am I at? Oh, I'm almost at an hour. That's amazing. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the longest wrestling-related video I have on my channel. That's amazing. Congratulations. But anyway, so Alexander Rotten has the capacity to not tap out or not give up, no matter whether or not he's in a bad hold or whenever he's in trouble. So that means that Alexander Rotten can withstand the howl, and therefore Lone Wolf, you don't have to think, Alexander Rutten's he's gonna tap out. He's locked in the Howl, because if he doesn't tap out and he's able to break free from the Howl, he can do that in a match. So therefore, it makes Alexander Rotten look strong, and it makes Lone Wolf look strong. So that's a great way to end the show. And then, of course, Lone Wolf holds the USW title belt above his head, saying, "You know what? I'm the champion. I will be the champion." Throws it out of the ring. Rotten goes crawling down the ramp, gets the title, and crawls back up the ramp, to make sure Lone Wolf doesn't attack him or anything like that. He Lone Wolf is celebrating, standing in the ring post and everything in the ring, celebrating as the crowd is going crazy, cheering and everything, and that's what ends the show. So of course it was this Wednesday Night Intensity was a show that it amazed me with the whole idea that USW has the potential and has had the potential and is very capable of making a good build up to a pay-per-view. And therefore, when it's not a good build up, then we know, they can try harder and that they have the ability to try harder. And it's not like you see this every so often, but you have a great pay-per-view and a great USW Wednesday Night Intensity often. So, this was just one of the best I've seen, in 2015, possibly even since USW was launched. So anyway, it built up to Outcast so well, and it made sure that Outcast was what it needed to be. It made sure that Outcast was built up well, and that there was so much hype going into the event that now, if the event does well next week, July 8th, 2015, that now people will think that don't watch the pay-per-views or are like, I'll only get the Call of Greatness pay-per-view, the Bulletproof pay-per-view, or I'll only get specific pay-per-views. Now they think, oh, USW pay-per-view events are pretty damn good, and this was just like a pay-per-view event. So I think I'm going to order them from now on. So it'll get people to rethink, not buying pay-per-views or buying very little pay-per-views or only special events or only very, very big pay-per-views from USW. So I think that's great. And not to mention, it kind of makes a special moment, and it makes something different that we don't always see. So of course, that was great. I'm going to see if I can start a new rating system for USW. For Wednesday Night Intensities and for Monday Night Raws. I think I'll do that. And it's going to be called a letter. I'm going to call it a letter grade result, LGR. LGR. And I'll go A plus, A, C plus, C. I'm sorry, shit. B plus, B, C plus, C, D, and F. And I'll go in order of 1.5. Sorry, letter stars. So I will say F gets 0 stars. D gets 1/2 to 1 star. C gets 1.5 stars. C plus gets 2 to 3 star. Oh, sorry, 2 to 2.5 stars. B gets 3 stars. B plus gets 3.5 stars. A gets 4 to 4.5 stars, and A plus gets 5 stars. So, I mean, if we're gonna go with the letter grade, of course, I'm going to say for intensity, for weekly shows, if we're gonna go with the letter grade, I'm going to say that this show is an A plus. So 5-star show. It did everything you would want a a Intensity or a Raw or a SmackDown to do, especially with a go home show. And it's much more difficult to do a go home show well, because you have so little timing and you have to do something that you haven't done in the previous weeks to make more hype. So I think that did that. They made it great hype for Outcast. It made sense. The promos were built well. The promos made sense. Everything made sense on this show, and everything was done in order to hype up Outcast. Every feud going into Outcast and some even into Ultimate Consequence was done well. It was just perfectly executed, and I could not be happier with any USW Wednesday Night Intensity show to date. So anyway, that's pretty much that. That's all I have to say with Wednesday Night Intensity. So yeah, hold on. All right, there you have it. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Remember to send your questions for me to answer in the next Hardiac Wrestling podcast on Tuesday. This one will be Tuesday, July 7th, 2015 at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Send your questions for me to answer, wrestling related. Send your wrestling related questions to unitards@gmail.com. It is my username. Is my username right here, Unitards, only with one more Z, and it's all lowercase. So UNITARDZZ @gmail.com. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will edit my playlists right after this. I will edit my playlists right after this live stream, and I will then I will then live stream my USW Outcast 2015 preview video. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. The playlist I will edit will be the Raw playlist, the Raw review playlist, the WWE pay-per-view pre-lists, WWE pay-per-view review lists, Wednesday Night Intensity list. I will edit the USW pay-per-view preview list and the USW pay-per-view review list. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. I'm Zachary, signing off.